You're listening to the Everyday Astrology Podcast. I'm Hilary Scott, your astrologer, and I'm here to bring you the current planetary conditions. So, I hope you're holding together because it's pretty crazy times we're in, obviously, you know. We are right up against an Aries full moon, which is super potent. I don't know if you've noticed, but often around the full moon, I call it the moon juice around the full moon, where everybody just has more energy. Our dogs are all jacked up and want to play and wrestle and stay up late. And I end up staying up late, and then the dogs decide they're going to stay up late with me and follow me around the house. And so I've known lots of people that don't sleep well, feel restless. So if you can just learn to go with the flow of the energy, then you can harness this is a really potent energy with the fire sign being in Aries, and Aries is so decisive, and decisive is maybe that's the right word, but often they're impetuous as well. So they haven't even really thought it through to make a careful decision. It's more just like acting. Mars is their ruling planet. So if you're feeling that, just be conscious that it could be you could be acting impulsively during the beginning of this week. Mercury has gone direct on Monday, and so did Jupiter, which is really lovely because, as you know, when Mercury is retrograde, things get hung up, which is irritating and frustrating, and often it's stuff we don't really expect to happen, so you can't really plan for it, but you just need to kind of make more space around you when Mercury is retrograde. And go within, figure out what you need to redo, what you need to revamp, reorganize, reorder. There's just a lot of power in going within and looking back and trying to connect all the dots when planets are retrograde. And there's been so many retrograde planets lately. We have still 2 to go that are coming out of retrograde, but now we've at least got Pluto and Jupiter going forward again. Mercury is moving forward. Saturn comes later this month, and it'll give us a chance to feel like we're making some headway again, in case you felt like you might not have been making any headway. There is the exact full moon has pretty potent aspects connected to it. Some would say even indicators of violence, or the protesting around the world is definitely represented by this energy. There's a Mars opposite this full Aries moon, and Mars is conjunct the sun as well. So it's very fiery, I guess. Interestingly though, it's the Libra Sun is opposite the Aries moon, this Aries full moon. And Libra really does want to harmonize and to get along and to not have to confront things. But in order to progress, in order to understand what's going on in the psyche, you have to be willing to confront things. So it can be a really tricky process because Aries will kind of charge right in. And unless, of course, their ego is feeling hurt, but generally they'll charge right in to deal with things forthrightly. And Libra, they are kind of programmed to please. So rather than have some sort of confrontation and express their real needs, they will placate you or tell you what you want to hear. And in a way that you're like, oh yeah, we're on the same page. But in actuality, you're not on the same page. Maybe they don't even know what page they're on. And you're like, I'm very specifically on this page, 3 paragraphs down, 3 sentences in. And Libra's like, well, I'm not sure that's the book I really want to read, because there's this book that we could read, and there's that book, and that has this idea, and that has that idea. So there's kind of this, I guess, mulling around in not deciding that can go on with Libra, which can be very frustrating for the Aries energy. So that opposition is pretty powerful during this full moon. There's a part of you that wants to charge forth, get it done, be brave, stand up, speak out. And then there's another part of you that's wait a minute, I don't really want to put myself out there or embarrass myself, or, it might be externally reflected to you, this dynamic where you're dealing with this in your relationships. So just keep an eye out, be aware that there is pretty potent kind of combative energy that's possible during this full moon. There's also a square from the moon to Pluto, which is no joke. Pluto is super powerful. It's in Capricorn. It's at the late degrees of Capricorn, 24 degrees. And it wants to dig things up. On the one hand, there's like two versions of it going on. On the one hand, Pluto is like, the plutocracy, like the oligarchy, trying to control everything, making a massive bid for power while it moves through Capricorn on the world stage and just basically kind of tries to control anything that it can govern. It's like, mandating people, anybody that has any sort of government oversight in their work or their job right now is being, totally controlled and manipulated to do what this controlling power, this plutocracy wants done. So that's tricky. That's the dark side of Pluto. But also there's this light side of Pluto where we need to see the dark. We need to roll that rock over so we can see what kind of bugs are crawling around underneath it. We can't just leave the same rock there in the same spot for all these years without actually examining what's going on underneath the rock. So the dark side of this whole show that we're living through is, this crazy bid for power and this overreach of government authority and this controlling of people's lives and, very damaging people's lives or even killing people. People are dying because of this. And not just from the virus, but from the injections they're making people take. It's like kind of horrendous what's going on, which is an understatement. So there's that side of the Pluto, but then there's also this coming into our power. We can see what's going on. We're digging up the dark roots of things to step into the light. And so we can be in our own power and kind of holding the cards of our own life, essentially. So that's one way you could look at it. It's also like it can be a battle. Like they're literally with this kind of energy, there could be some major riots. There could be some really unpredictable weather that's going on. Like very powerful energy is connected to this. Often I find when there's anything Pluto going on, I've already felt it a few days or even a week before the actual aspect hits. So if you have Scorpio or strong Pluto contacts, you might be like that too, where you're quite precognitive and emotionally working through things before they've even occurred. So usually once they do occur, you've already dealt with it. You've pre-grieved, you've pre-processed, so you can be like a stable rock for everyone else that didn't see it coming. So that's positive. That's a good way to look at it. Another kind of lovely aspect that's going on for this full moon is that Jupiter and the moon will be in a sextile. So that gives us an opportunity. It gives us, like with Jupiter, it wants us to expand our minds and examine what we believe and throw out what doesn't work and bring in new ideas. It's very expansive and mutable energy. So it's likely that this energy will help open minds, bring the truth, bring an expansion in a way that is very fortunate. And Jupiter did just on the 18th trine Mars too. So that truth rising energy is very strong and if you just keep an eye out, you'll see all kinds of stuff surfacing, all kinds of truths. And I think as the planets move forward again, there's like this hopeful lifting, sort of like, well, for sure we're gonna figure this out. We're not gonna be trapped in this. We're gonna figure it out. So that's the buoyancy of Jupiter. It gives us hope, and we can bounce back, and we become resilient. If there's too much Saturn kind of humming around over things, there's often like depression and this sense of like frozenness and not being able to get unstuck and kind of being resigned to where we are and how it is. This is the way it's always been done. This is how I've always done it. And so instead of be like, oh, well, yeah, this is the way you've done it. And how's that working out for you? Is it working out good? Or do you maybe need to adjust your approach? Having a teenager is very good for learning lessons like that. Because maybe I'm being an asshole. Maybe it's not her. It's really tricky how you can, observe your own behavior and try to, bring yourself forth with a little more balance and couth, the Libra energy, harmony, that can be learned from all of us, right? We all need to kind of adjust ourselves, but at the same time, we need to be authentic. Otherwise, we are not going to be happy, and the people we're around aren't going to be happy. And then that's not good. That's not good for the vibration of the planet when we're feeling crappy. So do what you need to do to keep your vibration high. Do the lovely things that make you happy, whatever they may be. Dancing is really good. Singing or toning. Oh, this was super weird the other day. I was making cookies with almond flour instead of regular flour, which are a really nice high protein snack, which my family says, do we need to always hear the nutritional value of everything you feed us? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you want to know that? But that's the thing I'm adjusting. I'm no longer going to always share the nutritional value of the things I'm feeding my family. But I was making cookies and I was like toning, which is something I learned when I was like about to have my baby, that you can like sing through it to help you ground in the labor. And because I'd learned that while I was in labor, all of a sudden I did it. I had this deep toning sounds that were coming through me that totally helped kind of ground me and release the fear of the whole situation. But since then, I sometimes use it and I find it kind of very calming. And I was in the kitchen making cookies, toning, doing different sounds and tones. And a few minutes later, I had looked at the clock. I get an email from Amazon, and it's sending me a book on human toning for healing. Human healing or human toning for healing. And then all these links to tuning forks that you can use to help you do the toning. And I was like, oh my God, Google or Amazon or whoever's listening was just listening to me do this in the kitchen in the privacy of my own home. And now they're sending me advertising, which is spot on, by the way, because I was super interested in that book and I was super interested in getting the tuning forks too. So it was like, wow, they really know what they're doing. But that's also so creepy that it was minutes. Like, who's listening to that? Who is figuring this out? It's just super creepy. So that's the kind of thing with the Pluto energy tied into this that we can figure out. We can kind of understand the dark side of the stuff that might be going on around us, the underneath secret stuff. So be open to that, because why wouldn't you want to be open to figuring out what's going on? It just makes so much sense that you'd want to know, because we live here. We live on this planet. We want to know the truth. On the 22nd, there will be a square between Pluto. That's a big day. Watch for that day. There's a square between Pluto and Mars. Again, bringing up that like really combative, possibly violent energy. And it's Mars in Libra and Pluto in Capricorn. So it might be kind of a civilized war, if you will, like maybe something we're not really noticing. Perhaps it's done in a, behind the scenes or in a courtroom or something that seems civilized, but it's still nevertheless, there's some kind of war going on between energies. So be careful. Don't put yourself in dangerous situations. Stay away from bad neighborhoods. Just be careful with your energy, this whole week, really. There's also a really again, it's the Pluto energy is strong, but Jupiter is there kind of expanding everything and helping us to, get in touch with the truth and who we are. And the Libra energy is helping us be connected to the fact that relationships and family and others in our lives are very important, and we need to somehow learn to negotiate this energy so that we can have people close to us that we love, that that are there for us and that we're there for. So the stuff going on around you now will help you clarify how you can show up better, how what you need, so that when you are upset by something that someone does or doesn't do, you understand, oh, well, my need for the truth is really triggered when your need to evade the truth is occurring. So this sort of deep understanding of what your needs are will help you be able to communicate them better, which is something I'm learning right now too. And hoping that, if you can get in touch with very big specifics, then you can start to draw the life that you really want to create to you. There won't be subconscious pulls or issues that you've kind of turned away from that are blocking your progress, because that's not fun. Like, it's frustrating to feel that you are resistant, right? And just try and open your heart. The Aries energy is very brave. We're coming right up to the sun entering Scorpio, which I will come back and do another podcast for, because it's, the sun going into Scorpio. Scorpio energy is a whole big thing. So it will change. We'll go from this, kind of energy where we're all trying to get along, or at least we're like negotiating that we need to get along. But when it moves into Scorpio, it'll be kind of no holds barred. It's like the deep, dirty truth is going to come out on all the angles, in everything, in every life. So that's exciting, especially if you have any Scorpio in your chart anywhere. But for this moon, make sure that you are willing to let go of things that are no longer useful, willing to walk away from inharmonious relationships that are not for your greater good. Use your intuition. It will be really strong right now. It's always there. It's always guiding you. But with this fiery energy, it might be really powerful. Try not to act from an emotional place. If you're feeling emotional, make sure that you've kind of grounded yourself and let the emotion pass before you make a decision. Because it's always in those, when we're having a fit about something or upset or riled up, that we are want to make an action, right? Because there's all this energy to burn off. But really, we might not be making the best choice in that spot. So be with yourself, hold little you while you have your tantrum, however that needs to happen, but then let it pass before you make any big decisions. That's super important, especially because Aries is prone to make bad decisions. It can make decisions in a very impetuous way that are later regretted, just because of the impetus of the Mars energy pushing all the time. So write down what you want to get rid of, write down what you would like to create, kind of track your progress, because it's a very helpful way to have faith and confidence in your own ability to create your own life. And having an understanding of the astrology just kind of keeps you tapped into the flow of the cosmos. And there are different frequencies and different flows that we can tap into that end up being so much more beneficial. So if you find yourself in an emotional state or unhappy, kind of figure out, is this the timeline I want to continue on, or should I choose a new timeline? Because you don't have to keep down the path that's not working, right? You can change. You have the power to do that. And I think now, the power of all of us as we the people to stand up for what we want is very potent right now. So this is a very energetic time that we're going through right now, and all the planets moving forward is really powerful. Feeling connected to your heart and standing in your power is super important with this Aries energy. We can really tap into our brave, courageous selves, where before we might have tried to talk ourselves out of it or shied away in some way. But now we can kind of step into our power, which is really powerful. Power is powerful, especially when you're wielding it for the good of all, which is obviously what we should be doing. But if you can tap into yourself and write down what you want to let go of and what you want to go towards, it's a powerful time. It really is. So that is it for this full moon in Aries. If you have any questions or if you'd like to have your chart done, please feel free to connect with me. And thank you so very much for listening. Many blessings for a most potent Aries full moon.